This is Gerardo Del Real with Resource Stock Digest. Joining me today is the CEO of Electric Royalties, Mr. Brendan Yurik. Brendan, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic, Gerardo. How are you doing today?
I am well. Thank you for asking. You have been busy. On May the 5th, you announced a private placement, an impressive one because it's non-brokered for up to $10 million. You followed that up with news a few days ago where you signed an LOI to acquire two graphite royalties from Box Royalty. And of course, the business model for Electric Royalties is exactly what the name implies, right? Royalties on electric metals, which of course are the metals of the future. A lot of chatter. Mr. Elon Musk himself has said we expect a bottleneck of supply and a shortage of these metals here in the next decade or so. And so to position now, I think your timing is perfect. Tell me a bit about these graphite royalties and then give us an update on that private placement.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, look, I think Elon Musk is maybe underestimating it, a little bit in terms of there's going to be a supply shortage much sooner than 10 years out. We're looking at supply shortages, in the next couple of years if money doesn't start coming to the sector and moving some of these projects along. That's why this first transaction with Vox, and it really is the first in what we hope is a long successful partnership with these guys. They have a portfolio or a proprietary database, of royalties that they put together over, the last kind of 7-8 years. I think it's been proof in the pudding in terms of their growth profile has been, among the fastest of any royalty company really in the last, 2 years or so. And so, they're precious metals focused, but they have a lot of deal flow and access to a lot of proprietary deal flow, that kind of matches our space. And so, they're excited to be able to help, monetize some of that deal flow with us and in partnership with us. And, obviously it works well for us if we get to keep consolidating and, acquiring royalties in our space. So, look, these two royalties, the first one, Graphmont, is really kind of the main event on this. And, this was already, it's on current care and maintenance right now, but, that's really only because of COVID restrictions in Madagascar. This thing could be producing back up to 6,000 tons, as soon as COVID is kind of, a thing of the past. But they had 20 months of continuous production. Really in the graphite space, something that, people may not know is it really takes about 18 months of production to actually go out there and qualify what your product is at the end of the day with off-takers and groups that are actually going to be using that. And so, they're really far advanced, much more far advanced than most groups out there. The operator is one of two companies listed on the ASX is actually, capable of producing graphite right now at this moment in time. And so, there just isn't a whole lot of, producing graphite mines or graphite mines that have, proven out that, hey, their product is, fully capable of, fulfilling the needs of, batteries, electric vehicles, and, other high-end applications. So, yeah, we're excited about that. I mean, it's got the right flake distribution and in terms of its stage, it's definitely far advanced. The one knock against it, to be honest, is that it's got a cap on it. And,
Right.
I understand that. But, at the end of the day, we are going to renegotiate that. I always say that we plan to be, long-term partners with every group that, operates project we hold a royalty on. And, definitely these guys are going to need more money for expansion. We plan to be there, to discuss that and help them move forward. And I'm sure there's going to be a moment in time where we'll be able to renegotiate that. But, just getting your kind of teeth into an asset like this, there hasn't been very many producing or hasn't been very many graphite mines brought in production over the last decade. And so, this is one of a few, right? Kind of fitting the theme of, we've got royalties in and around the only producing lithium mine in Canada, royalties on 2/3 of the only manganese district being developed for the EV space in North America. Our zinc royalty even, vertically integrated with the Clarksville smelter, the only primary zinc producer in the U.S. It's not like the gold space, there's just not that many assets like that that are this far advanced and really fit that, profile of what groups are looking for in the EV space. So, yeah, we're excited. I mean, it's an exciting project, exciting opportunity, and where we go with these guys and take it from here is remains to be seen. But like I said, we plan to be good operating partners to these guys, and we'll probably renegotiate that at some point in the future here.
You have.
Um,
Oh yeah, go,
yeah.
go go ahead, Brendan. I was going to say you have royalties on. I believe it's what you're up to 12 now that have been closed. I think you have 4 or 5 that are under contract. Is that accurate?
Yeah, so we've got 12 royalties that we've closed on to date, and we have 2 more, the Glassville Manganese royalty and the Middle Tennessee Zinc royalty, which is in production, operated by Trafigura, et cetera, we are working on closing. And so that's, hence the reason for bringing this Sprott royalty and streaming to co-invest, bringing in 9.15 of the 13 million cash acquisition cost, and us announcing that financing last week. So that's all kind of work towards closing that deal. This deal is actually an all shares deal, essentially. There's $50,000 cash, as a payment, but that's mostly, to cover legal costs and that type of thing. But the majority of it is stock in the company. And so, we won't need to go raise financing to close this deal. This is something that we can get done, relatively quickly over the next kind of 30 days.
Excellent. And so my follow-up question would be, with that many royalties and such a wide range of commodities, right? We're talking lithium, tin, graphite, cobalt, nickel, copper, vanadium. I could go on. Is there a near-term focus on specific commodity types that you'd like to check off here in the next, say, couple of quarters? Or are you really receptive to doing accretive deals on a most accretive deal basis?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I think you do find better deals, obviously, when metals are maybe not, as hot in the spotlight, as it were. Ultimately, our strategy is to really stay diversified across all these different metals. They really are going to be all critical to this transition to clean energy as we move forward. And, we want to stay diversified, such that we're not making a bet in terms of where battery chemistries go, which new technologies might come in and kind of disrupt the industry from the supply side. And so that's kind of our general, aim. And so there are, a couple commodities though that we would like to go, get some exposure and increase our exposure to, over the next few months. And those are, some of the hotter ones. But, we're really looking to make a splash in the tin space next, to be honest. Definitely we're looking at, going out and putting together some producing copper royalties as well. And so that'll be probably a little bit of our kind of near-term focus. But at the same time, always looking to be accretive and do deals, and increase exposure across these other commodities. It's just they're just so precious, honestly. I mean, precious metals is maybe maybe going to be a term of the past, because a lot of these metals are going to be more precious in the future.
I absolutely agree with you, and I think there's room in the space for all the metals to rise together, and I think that's the environment that we're moving into, right?
Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, you look at it from the inflationary standpoint. And I'll use copper as an example, but copper, when they started printing money out back in 2008, copper ran from about $1.50 to $4.50. And gold was definitely more in the limelight. Yeah, but gold only really went from 1,000 to close to 2,000. And so there's kind of inflation happens and affects the metal prices across all these metals. Whether it be copper, whether it be gold. I think what you're seeing globally right now with this, massive kind of spending campaign, you've never seen spending like this and printing of money like this, in the history, of the world. And so it's on a multiple levels of what it was back in 2008. But all that money, for the most part, is going into infrastructure spending, and specifically right now, clean energy infrastructure. And so you kind of get, a little bit of both sides of it. You get a little bit of the inflation acting going on. With these metals holding their value, as you can't print more copper or more tin when you need it. But you also have this kind of other side of it where, governments are basically pouring money into infrastructure that will require these metals. And so, I think they both bode well, quite frankly, for the whole mining sector.
The history of the world is a really long time, Brendan. I think we're in for a bright future, pun intended. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks for the update. It sounds like we'll be chatting again soon.
Yeah, no, thanks, Ryder. Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me back on.
All right. Take care now.
Cheers.